Mark Schlereth, NFL and Fox analyst, three-time Super Bowl champ with the Broncos. He was at the game in Denver yesterday with his former teammates, joining us on the program. Hey, Mark, it's great to talk to you. We've been talking about this most of the morning, and that is the fourth down moment there with Jarrett Stidham. Your thoughts in the moment when you're there watching the game?
Yeah, we were all sitting and standing around in Peyton Manning's suite, and it was me, and it was Stokely, and it was Mike Shanahan, it was Peyton, and we all looked at it and go, just like this, you got a backup quarterback, you got a chance to go up 10-0, and and your defense is balling out of control. Like all of us were in agreement at that point. Just kick the field goal. Just kick the field goal. And then, you come out with a little rollout pass, and it was a debacle to begin with. And plus, at that point, you hadn't run the ball for 2 inches. So it's not like you feel like, hey, man, they're really going to respect our run game, right? They're really going to respect what we're doing here as an offense. So we're just going to run the QB sneak, or we're just going to run some power down the middle or ISO and really smash mouth these guys. They were kicking our ass up front. So I was like, kick the field goal, take the points, man. 10-0 is a big score, especially with the weather report that it was going to get nasty in the second half. That was the weather report that had been floated for the whole week.
Yeah, I wondered about that. I'm watching the broadcast, but I didn't hear Nance and Romo talk about impending doom with the weather, because there was like a 40-minute period where it changed the whole look, literally the look of the game.
Yeah. It's funny, on my radio show in Denver, we had our local weather guy on. I told him he was on notice. Like, if he wasn't right about the weather, then I was going to move to Kathy Saban, because she is balls when it comes to weather. She knows everything that's going on. And he was dead on, man. Congratulations, Chris Bianchi, because he told us in the second half, man, expect the temperatures to continue to drop. Snow flurries coming in, could get nasty. I mean, he had it nailed. And, of course, that's exactly what happened.
I wonder about this whole going for it on fourth down. It almost seems like you're a failure if you don't go for it on fourth down and you take the field goal and you leave 4 points out there. But I don't know if the data is able to show, well, who's my quarterback? Who are we going against? What are the conditions? At what time of the game am I doing all of this stuff?
Yeah, Dan, it's really funny. I get into arguments because I hate analytics. I hate all analytics people. I don't like nerds. And I always get into this with guys. You like the 2-point conversion play, and we got to go for it on fourth down and all this stuff. And, you get the sample size of data. But, hey, man, if I haven't blocked your defensive front all day long, right, that data changes. If my guards can't handle your 3 techniques, if my tackles can't handle your defensive ends, then we need to change. Like that math doesn't work. Math has never made a tackle. Math has never blocked anybody. Math has never done any of that stuff. And I always say this to analytics guys: how many 2-point conversion plays do you think are in any given game plan? And they're all like, I don't know. And I go, we go in with one that we like and one that we kind of like. And we practice them on Fridays in hats and T-shirts. So you don't ever get a full rep look at a 2-point play. And so that math is faulty. And you got to understand, like, that the feel of the game. And I thought Sean made a major gaffe not going for it or not kicking that field goal. But that has become endemic of the league in general. Yeah. Like nobody, it's almost like you're a wussy if you kick a field goal. And I hate the momentum shift. I hate it all. Like, take the points.
Talking to Mark Schlereth, NFL and Fox analyst, 3-time Super Bowl champ. Before we kick the Broncos to the curb, look going into next year, what are your thoughts?
I love the way the team is built. I think they need some more weapons on the offensive side of the ball for Bo Nix. But I love the way Bo Nix played, and I love his ability to rise his game to a level that you have to have. I said it on my show many times. When it's nut cutting time, he cuts nuts. And I can't explain it any better than that. Like, he just is, when the pressure is on and you have to be your best, he has been his best all year. And he's going to continue to develop in the boring stuff. The boring stuff, to me, is the difference between winning championships and not winning championships. He's got to be better in the boring stuff, but they need running back. They need they need more or premier tight end. They haven't had a tight end here since Shannon Sharp, and we really haven't been able to figure that position out.
How good was it watching from Peyton Manning's suite?
It's awesome. It's awesome because I do radio here in Denver with Brandon Stokely. And so we've got this ongoing feud. And I walked in the suite, and Peyton Manning, the Broncos, put a bunch of pictures of me, singular pictures of me, on the wall, which really got under Stokely's skin because he was there with his boys. And we're still children. I turned 60 yesterday, Dan, and I said, hey, man, I look in the mirror. To me, I still see 30, and I act like a 15-year-old. That makes me 45. I am right there in the prime spot for me.
What was your biggest takeaway from Seattle eliminating the Rams?
I have just been, and I have been like the Pied Piper of what Sam Darnold has been through. And, I sat down with Kyle Shanahan and just talked about Sam Darnold when Sam was a backup quarterback in San Francisco. And he said, first off, he gets drafted by the Jets. Jeremy Bates was there, was a Peyton Manning disciple. So he gets drafted by the Jets, and they put him in the Peyton Manning offense. There's one guy in the history of the National Football League that could run the Peyton Manning offense. That was Peyton Manning. Then he gets shipped off to Carolina, and he's running, Matt Rule's collegiate offense. And so when he had a chance to go to San Francisco, he had a chance to go to compete for starting jobs elsewhere. He said, I need to learn how to play football in the NFL. He humbled himself, went there as a backup, then did what he did in Minnesota. They kicked him to the curb. He was the destination spot for John Schneider, said, that's the guy we want. And to watch him do what he did, and then to out-duel or to go toe-to-toe with Matt Stafford in an NFC championship game, with all the weapons that Matthew Stafford had, I thought that was phenomenal. What an unbelievable performance by that kid, because, I don't think a lot of people had that on their bingo card, him going toe-to-toe with Stafford.
Yeah, and you bring up an interesting point. It's Kyle Shanahan can make you a better quarterback. He can make you see the game differently and put you in positions where you're going to succeed, and he's carried that over to Seattle. But you look at Seattle's offense, I think people are going to be introduced to Jackson Smith-Njigba. They're going to be like, who's this guy? Because they haven't watched Seattle probably most of the year, and he's right there with Puka Nacua.
He certainly is. He is so smooth in and out of breaks. And no matter what they ask him to do, you watch it. And I did a Seattle game this year, and you watch him play, and as you're studying the film, he just always finds the opening, whether he's in man, whether he's in zone. He's got a great feel, unbelievable. The top of his route, his stems, and just getting out and all of a sudden becoming a very friendly target. And he's so dynamic with the underneath stuff. You dump it to him, and he's going to get you an extra, 4 or 5 yards, whatever it is. The kid is just amazing. And honestly, when you look at it, Dan, it's not like Puka, who's got Devontae Adams on the other side. He's got, 4 tight ends that can all get down the seams and win. It's Smith-Njigba, and then it's a bunch of other guys, Bobo, and you look at, obviously, Cooper Kupp is unbelievable, but he does all the underneath stuff. It just feels different. It feels like, hey, if you can shut down Njigba, you can beat the Seahawks, and nobody can do it.
The Tarek Woolen's taunting penalty, that could have gone down in history. That could have been, because Puka then scores a touchdown right after that. And you could even see his teammates were mad. They were livid at him for, a stupid taunting penalty.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Dan. You talk about it. I always say, listen, man, we're a bunch of PE majors that play this game. None of us, genius and football, mutually exclusive events. But that's one of those things you go into and you say, hey, man, we can't have these penalties. We can't have this. We can't have that. And especially taunting. Hey, man, if you're going to get a penalty, get your money's worth. Late hit. Make somebody feel it in their ribs, right? I mean, And yeah, it sounds Neanderthalic, but that's what I am. And so I'm like, I understand sometimes that's a good thing for a defense. I go back to that 2015 Broncos defense, the no-fly zone. They were good for at least one personal foul a game, maybe two, just to let you know that they're going to be there, right? But the taunting thing is that's just it's one of those stupid things. But the great news for Seattle and their fans, because all my boys from college, or I'm on a text thread, they're all live in Seattle. So they wanted him shipped out like instantly. They're like, they were so mad at him. But he's a good player, man. He's been a really good player for them. I'm sure they'll clean that up. But that is one of those major gaffes that you just can't have.
Drake May will be the second youngest quarterback to start a Super Bowl. Is he ready for this?
I think so. I mean, Denver shut that offense down, and he made, I think, 6 scrambles. He made a couple of scrambles that were big time. I mean, big time scrambles that put them, that swung field position or gave them a chance. And so,
but how often does a quarterback not tell the offensive line that he's going to change the play and he's the only one? So that bootleg, when he kept it himself, he didn't tell his teammates. How often did that happen?
Not often, but it's the best way to do it. Like sometimes when you put in some RPO stuff, like the offensive line never knows if you're going to hand it off or you're going to throw it. They don't. So that part in the RPO game happens quite frequently because the one thing you want when you're running a run action, play is you want complete and total sellout by the offensive line. You don't want them to know because ultimately the defense then is going to buy into that and you can get things over the top. So a lot of times we used to have plays in where it was just an automatic smoke screen. If, your slot receiver has got a defensive back who's 12 yards off and we're running 14 handoff to the right, and all of a sudden quarterback just pops up and throws it. You're just blocking. And all of a sudden you're like the defensive line, like you're comboing up to a middle linebacker. And all of a sudden he takes off across the field the opposite way. And you're like, dude, what happened? Well, we threw it out there and the quarterback didn't tell you. But that play in particular was brilliant by a young quarterback. I mean, brilliant, because you knew they were going to sell out on that. What was it? A 4th down and short. You knew they were going to sell out on that. And Drake May keeping that thing was incredible.
Happy 60th to you, Stink. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
I appreciate it, Dan. Take care, buddy. Always great to be with you.
Mark Schlereth, NFL and Fox analyst, 3-time Super Bowl champ with the Broncos.